Okay, yeah, I'll let you know. That should be good. If you have AirPods, you want to listen to music while you're doing that? It's not probably be able to. That would have been fun. That's the problem. I mean, your arm now. Turn my work back.
TBT championship. The second game today matches the number 7 seed OffDaHook and the number 2 seed JHX. OffDaHook is led by general manager and head coach Cindy Van, assisted by Brian Carpenter. JHX is led by their general manager Stuart Ward and Stephanie Temple. Head coach Sarai Rollins is assisted by player coach Tyson Taylor. Let's meet today's starting lineup. For OffDaHook, guard 6'2" from University of Colorado, number 1, Shane Elam. Guard 6'1" from Gardner, number 11, Jaheem Harbaugh. Guard 6'4" from University of Antelope Valley, number 21, Elias Antonekwe. Guard 6'3" from Cornell University, number 23, Nazir Williams. And guard 6'4" from Alabama, number 44, DJ OffDaHook. Here are the starters for the JHX. At court, 6'9", University of Kansas, number 23, Billy Trustman. At court, 6'9", University of Kansas, number 31, Jabari Traynor. 6'9", University of Kansas, number 22, Cliff Alexander. At guard 6'6", University of Kansas, number 2, Joe Bennett. At guard 6'3", from the University of Kansas, number 5, Zeke Mayo. TBT are governed by NCAA rules with the following exceptions. We play 4 9-minute quarters. Players foul out on their 6th foul. We play legal goaltending rules except for on free throws. The foul bonus occurs on the 5th foul of each quarter. Finally, TBT is using the Elam ending. At the first dead ball with 4 minutes or under to go in the game, game clock shuts off and the target score is set by adding 8 points to the leading team score. The first team to reach that target score is the winner. Now let's play ball. Jumping center for OffDaHook, 21 classes in the quarter. Kansas 31 to Swift.
We are underway here from Kansas City.
Zeke Mayo, straight out of Summer League. Hopped on a flight a couple days ago from Las Vegas and is ready to roll.
At JHX, kind of look underneath. You talked about the size advantage, and it is apparent here as we begin this game.
It is. And we saw OffDaHook kind of going a little bit of a zone there.
Three ball from the wing, and the scoring gets going with a wing three.
Shane Gatling's going to be the guy for Off the Hook today. If they want a chance in this game, he's got to have a really, really big day.
And the first bucket on the other side, Billy Preston is 3-2 early Off the Hook with that three. We welcome you to Kansas City. Paul Fritchner alongside Mike Latulip off the heels of a thrilling Game 1. Purple Rain coming back from 15 down at one point, Mike, to beat the Shine in the opening game of the Kansas City Regional here from Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City. Municipal Auditorium, home of the three of the first four Final Fours. Very historic building. Shot off the glass, around and out. Elias Ezenekwe mentioned Off the Hook only has 6 available players for this game. So the only player for Off the Hook who's not in the game right now is Malik Cameron. On the other side for JHX, their entire roster is ready and available for this game. So depth, clearly an advantage for JHX as this game goes along.
And this is going to be really interesting. The zone that Off the Hook is sitting in, you're going to have to resist the temptation if you're JHX to shoot threes. That ball needs to go inside, and Cliff Alexander just a little bit off target on the pass to LaGerald Vick. JHX has to dominate the paint in this game. There's no excuses with this size advantage.
Let me ask you this question. Do you sometimes in a game like this where you recognize that you only have 6 players or that you're playing an opponent who only has 6 players, do you sometimes have to make sure you stay as locked in as possible when you just look over at the bench and see there's only one player sitting there?
Absolutely, and I think from the flip side, Off the Hook can just come in and cut it loose. There's no pressure for them. They're outmanned from just from a roster standpoint, but these things can sneak up on you quickly if you don't come out with the right mentality and you're sloppy like we've kind of seen from JHX. Things can kind of spiral.
One-handed pass back the other way. Cliff Alexander.
And Zeke Mayo, what a luxury to have a guy like that. 42% from 3 this past season at Kansas. And I know it wasn't a banner season for Kansas, but he was a real bright spot for them.
Zeke Mayo from the wing. Short. JHX beating Purple Rain the other night, 78-72 in that State Showdown scrimmage. Billy Preston spinning his way and losing his footing. And now you see a cavalry of substitutions.
They've seen enough. I mean, just some of the effort, and there's not a lot of communication and energy. There's going to be some wholesale changes here.
Just looking at the size, you saw Cliff Alexander there to start the game, but even coming off the bench, Kevin Young. I mean, there is a serious amount of size on this Kansas JHX team. You see the white jerseys, you see that trademark look, that classic Kansas font over there on the back and the numbers. Off the Hook with an and one there. Shane Gatling had the 3, and now an and one. He has all 5 of Off the Hook's points.
I think if JHX doesn't tighten up defensively, Gatling's going to go for 30 today. I mean, he is a really talented scorer. 18 a game in Hungary this past year, and had a really solid career at Colorado as well.
Yeah, and for JHX fans that are watching this game and remember the name Shane Gatling, he was part of that Colorado alumni team that knocked them out last year.
And offensively, you're facing this zone. If you're JHX, just be patient. Ball moves faster than man. Fake a pass to make a pass, and settle yourself in a bit.
We're just underway in the first quarter here from Kansas City. 3 ball off the front of the rim. Billy Preston dishing it off. Nick Timberlake for 3.
And you've just seen this bench group has come in, a couple of these guys off the bench, and really made an impact.
How about Nick Timberlake? an early three to put JHX up 5, 11-6.
He didn't shoot it well his season at Kansas, but at Towson, he was known as a guy with a rep that could make shots off the bounce, that could make shots off the catch.
Round and out, rebound. Now thought about that outlet pass. Underneath it goes, and an easy look for Marcus Bell, and a timeout taken as JHX Hoops has opened up a 7-point advantage and looks the part here in Game 2 at Kansas City.
Yeah, I thought that second group came in and just, settled things down a bit for them. I thought they were much better defensively, more effort defensively. And then for the offensive side of the ball, OffDaHook wanted to kind of extend that pressure and almost go with like a 2-2-1 press. And you just got to be patient, make the right pass, be a strong cutter, and you can continue to blow this thing open.
Kansas began their TBT run as self-made in 2019. They lost in the first round. They rebranded as Mass Street, won 2 games each of the last 2 years, but then in both years they lost the third game. JHX, the Jayhawks, abbreviated down to JHX Hoops. And now here they are, giving it another run as the 2 seed in the Kansas City Regional. So we've already seen Purple Rain advance. Heartfire has advanced. So 2 of the 4 into the next round here in Kansas City. We have one more game remaining today after this one. But, man, you and I just catching our breath. Only about 15 minutes in between games here at Municipal Auditorium. And if you didn't see the first game, Purple Rain, the Kansas State alumni, they were down 15 and came all the way back to win in the final quarter in the Elam ending. And now here, JHX Hoops has a chance to put their stamp on this game early. And I've really liked what I've seen, like you said, Mike, out of that second unit, and you're seeing the potential of what this team could be.
Yeah, and again, it's just there are some new faces on this JHX team. Some familiar ones from the Mass Street team last year, but if you're a coach in this tournament and it's single elimination, you're going to roll with the guys that are out there giving the right effort defensively. They're making the right play offensively. And I just think I'm looking at Lucas right now, who at 6'8" is up here trying to pressure full court. That's the stuff you want to see.
Cycling the ball around into the middle of the lane. Floater up and off the front of the rim as Anakwe couldn't get it. Long 3 for Mayo.
If you're going to switch, you have to switch up on Zeke Mayo. You can't switch and go under and be late to switch over and get a hand up. Zeke Mayo is going to make you pay every time.
Good defensive effort along the baseline. That ball tipped away. It stays in play. Now Mayo can run the break. Tip from behind. Mayo, ball on a string. No look pass. Circles it around. Can't finish it with the 3. Instead, the outlet up ahead and transition. OffDaHook cut the date.
I thought JHX could have just gone up and finished that one. There's
Yep.
a bit of overpassing there.
I agree. Sometimes you got to just be selfish, get that ball up to the rim.
Yeah, I don't even think it's being selfish. It's shooting a layup.
That's right. Deep 3 off the mark for Zeke Mayo. And a rebound fought for underneath. Marcus Bell was down there. Kevin Young also underneath. And that'll bring us to our under 4 media timeout here in the first quarter. Both teams have used the timeout. And you look at how JHX has stacked up here early on in this game, and it took them a minute in the opening segment to get their feet under them, but now 7 of 13 from the floor on the afternoon, 2 of 6 from 3. And there's 3 turnovers, but 11 boards to OffDaHook 6.
The shot quality has just gone down for OffDaHook. I thought they got a few easy ones early. They got to the line, and since then, JHX has really tightened it up on that end. And they've also taken care of the ball. I mean, they had 3 turnovers to pretty much start this game, and none since. And going back to that play with Kelvin Amayo, he's kind of the new guy on the team. He's not a Kansas guy.
Yep.
And just finish the layup. You need to try to get in the good graces of the guys on the Kansas team by kicking it out to them.
Great set off the inbounds. Nick Timberlake drove, got fouled. I believe, or did that ball just get tipped out of bounds? It did. Just being inbounds.
It looked like it could have been a foul.
Yeah, I thought maybe he got hit on the arm as he went up for it, but just got tipped out. Here's Kevin Young. Returner to this team, a lot of experience from Young. Timberlake, another 3, off the mark, but a cleanup by Young. 6'8" body under there, back up to 10 for JHX.
Yeah, Young is just a guy. It feels like that. He's Johnny on the spot. He's always in the right place at the right time. Ball comes off the rim, drops right in his lap. That's not just random. That's a guy that always puts himself in that position.
As Anakwe thought about the long 3, and instead there's a whistle to go on JHX. That'll go on Marcus Bell. That's Bell's first. Nobody in this game with more than a foul yet. Ticking down toward the end of the first quarter, under 2 minutes to go. EJ Rivera. Undersized. Timberlake. Looking underneath. Great hesitation. Amayo finishing.
That's how it's got to look. That tic-tac-toe, ball doesn't touch the ground. Young makes himself available, and you get a big helping uphill. Alexander's a big target down there.
Yeah, I said Amayo. That's Cliff Alexander. Great to see Cliff Alexander back out there here for this JHX team. Lob underneath, and there's a foul.
This is a really interesting lineup for JHX because, you could maybe say it's Timberlake, but not really like a traditional point guard out there for right now to set the table. But honestly, if OffDaHook is going to go more zone, you don't necessarily really need one. You just need guys to kind of fill areas.
1:13 to go in the opening quarter, and JHX up by 10 can stretch it at the free throw line. Kevin Young, like I said, returner on this team. One notable exception to this JHX team that we have to mention, Mike, is Frank Mason playing with Boeheim's Army, not a part of JHX.
There were some Kansas fans that were hoping you wouldn't mention it. That's a stinger, and it's not only just because it's a Kansas player playing for the Syracuse alumni team. It's a really big part of this team last year, and a big scoring void that they have to fill. And they may be able to survive today against OffDaHook, but the subsequent rounds beyond this get even tougher when you don't have that guy to rely on.
Largest lead here for JHX as we go into the final minute of the first quarter. Cornwall for 3. Up to 5 points now for Jaheim Cornwall.
Cornwall's played at a high level. I mean, he started 9 games at Penn State and has played at the Big Ten level. He's a really, really strong guard.
There's Jacob Hanna.
And Jacob Hanna's really, really interesting. Was a part of a D2 Final Four this year. Is an incredible athlete as he turns it over there. OffDaHook gets the dunk. But Hanna is a defensive player of the year in his conference, is a really, really great athlete. As I mentioned, and was a part of a lot of winning in his college career. So I see the vision for JHX with the pickup.
Mayo here goes underneath. There's a foul, almost the and one, but still Kevin Young will go to the line. And Jacob Hanna helped lead Washburn to a Division II Final Four. I mentioned he was the Defensive Player of the Year, was also his conference's newcomer of the year, racked up the awards at the Division II level, and now finds his way here to JHX Hoops in TBT. Under a second to go in the first quarter, JHX looking to build a double-digit lead through one.
And we've seen, as Young hits a second one with Jacob Hanna, we've seen D2 guys make an imprint in this game. Sean Williams was just last game for Purple Rain.
At the end of one, it is 25-15. JHX Hoops. 4 9-minute quarters here in Kansas City. Again, welcome you in to Game 2 of 3 from Municipal Auditorium. Paul Fritchner alongside Mike LaTulip. OffDaHook with just 6 available players in this game, taking on JHX Hoops, who has their entire roster available. Just one substitute on the bench for OffDaHook. And after a shaky first 2 or 3 minutes for JHX, they really settled in nicely and now lead it by 10.
Yeah, they did. And as you look at the numbers right now, JHX 58% from the field, but they're 80% from 2. I mean, that's where that size advantage has to come into play for them. If you get inside-out threes and you get OffDaHook collapsing 2 guys on the ball, sure, but every single time it should be a concerted effort to get the ball down low and get a high percentage look.
There's a chance to talk about JHX, Sharon Collins, head coach. What a storied career. I mean, there are a lot of fun stories on this JHX roster, but Coach Collins, 4 straight Big 12 regular season titles, first team All-American, Big 12 tournament MVP, most outstanding player, I should say. His number 4 jersey's retired at Kansas. Now he's leading the charge here at TBT for a JHX team that's, like I said, looking to make some noise this year in Kansas City.
They are, and you just touched on Sharon Collins. I mean, that's another guy from Chicago that we saw with Jacob Poland last game, but embodies everything about Chicago. He was tough, he was gritty, just a really, really strong point guard. And fun fact, too, me growing up in the Chicagoland area, you heard about Sharon Collins not only on the basketball floor, but really good football player, really good baseball player, all state and really all 3 sports. He was a heck of an athlete.
One exception to this JHX roster, David McCormick not playing. That's the only player here that you would see that's initially had been part of this team, but now not playing. But as far as players rostered and available today, everybody's good to go for JHX. A lot of depth as we look forward in this tournament, but OffDaHook trying to have something to say about that. Nifty move underneath to the hoop.
And JHX, they had Cliff Alexander anchored in the paint, and he was just kind of pointing and talking and switching out, but still not able to rotate over there to help clean up.
Slicing through, Timberlake for 3, short, has one earlier. Timberlake with 3 points on the afternoon, creating some defensive pressure. Pull up 3, or short rather. Not a 3, just inside the line, but cleaned up anyway. Quick little 4-0 burst for OffDaHook.
It was a great finish there by Rivera. And Rivera is a guy, 20 points a game at Binghamton back in 2008, 2009, and had a really good showing in the NCAA tournament against Duke, a Duke team that the following year would go on to win the national championship. But you saw him matched up with now Duke coach John Shire. He's been playing this game for a long time.
Rebound pulled down by Tyshawn Taylor. Long pass up ahead. That one was dicey as Anakwe stepping into the passing lane. And he lost it out of bounds. Gonna go to JHX.
Yeah, Mayo with the tough pass in traffic, but gets it back there, sitting down in defensive stance and knocks it off the hook.
Taylor to the bucket. No, offensive rebound. There's that thighs. And Cliff Alexander. Oh. Whistle underneath. And that was a Mayo.
I think they got Alexander on the travel. He's got to be patient down there. He's got the size.
So just under 7 minutes to play here in this second quarter, and not quite the same offensive bursts here to start this second. Just a couple points here in the first 2 minutes for JHX after 25 in the first quarter.
I think it's a matter of time before we see Zeke Mayo back in the game.
Yep. Scanning the floor and stepping into the passing lane was Amayo.
Yeah, you can see why Amayo's out there. I mean, he's really disruptive in passing lanes. He's really disruptive on the perimeter.
Gatling step back, and another one for Shane Gatling.
Really
He's
tough
now up
shot.
to 8.
Really tough shot, and doesn't mind being off platform. Doesn't matter not having his base. He's able to hit a tough fadeaway.
Dish out to Young, and an offensive foul. And a spin down the lane, and the JHX fans in attendance don't love that call.
And the bravery from Cornwall, just to step in there and say, all right, I'm a little bit outsized here, but I'm going to take it on the chest. That's a big-time play and a big-time stop. And you look now, off the hook, cutting into this lead. And it's just, it's scary when you think of guys like Gatling and you think of guys like Cornwall, guys that can really get going offensively. You don't want to let a team like this hang around.
Yeah, outscoring JHX 6-2 to open this second quarter, Mike. And like you said, not really doing anything flashy or spectacular to make waves here on the court. It's just they're going about their business and cutting into the lead.
We're getting stops, and I think they're really swarming to the ball a little bit better than they did in the first quarter as far as the paint goes for JHX.
Smooth pass underneath. Looking for three, and he knocks it down. That's Cornwall.
I'm telling you, Cornwall and Gatling, I mean, those two guys on the perimeter, would scare me if I'm JHX, and you let them get confident.
Touch from behind. Marcus Bell drew the foul.
And the energy's definitely picked up for off the hook. You can see the communications picked up.
Yeah, off the hook now down just by 3. They trailed by 10 at the end of the first quarter. 9-minute quarters here in TBT.
And we'll see if as the game goes on, if the 6-player rotation that they have right now ends up kind of sneaking up on them. Because I do think even offensively, it's been really tough offensively at times for off the hook. It's been a lot of creation from Gatling and from Cornwall, and does that wear them down individually as the game goes on?
Marcus Bell at the free throw line goes 1 for 2. He played for the LA Cheaters last year, played at 3 JUCOs in college before finishing at Idaho and Stanislaus State. Now just up 4. Zeke Mayo back in the game. Mayo has it stripped, a run out Perez-Inekwe, and he throws it down to a 2-point deficit for Off the Hook.
Perez-Inekwe so good in the open floor, but I look at Rivera just getting in the passing lane, sitting on that dribble drive from Mayo. And if you're going to help in at the ball, you better go make a play on it, and Rivera did.
Mayo briefly lost it again. Left hand, back of the rim, the putback. Trailer drew the foul. Jamari Trailer, another returner to this JHX team. Off the mark on the first. Only 3 points so far in this second quarter for JHX.
Yeah, Off the Hook doing some. They're changing their defenses. What feels like almost possession by possession. I think it's really just put JHX in the mud a little bit.
And a lane violation there.
And Jamari Trailer, just a really, really important guy to have on your team because he's just a guy who knows who he is. He wants to rebound, he wants to set screens, and he's super efficient from the field because he knows that his bread is buttered in front of the rim, and that's where he wants to shoot him. Last year, 6 for 8 from the field in the tournament, and being efficient again today.
Gatling looking for some space, and that one finds its way to the JHX bench, but it'll stay on this end with Off the Hook, wearing those black jerseys, trailing by 3. Again, with just 6 players available for this game. Today, Villanova won a national title running with about 6 guys.
They did.
You get down, people always talk about depth, right? It's a classic conversation in college basketball. You talk about depth. You get down to it, March Madness anymore, you're really looking at 6, 7, maybe that 8th man's playing a few minutes here and there, but it's really tight rotations you get down to it.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, you have to play a really certain style of basketball to play 9, 10 guys, but you hear all the time in the offseason or even in the TBT, it's, oh, man, we got so much depth. We got 10 guys, we got 11 guys. It's going to be 8. And when it really matters in the end, it's going to be 6. It's going to be 7. So it always seems to be the big thing people harp on, but ultimately you ruin your own continuity when you try to cycle in 11, 10 guys.
Well, that's what I was going to say. A lot of times for how much we talk about depth in this sport, sometimes, at least in my opinion, it can get overblown because you get to a point where there's no consistency. If you're playing that 10th, 11th person all the time, then where's the consistency in the rotation that you need to build with the 5 to 6 to maybe 7 guys that you really need to step up when it matters?
And then individually, just your consistency in your role. Like, what do I expect game to game from me, like for me as a player? And that's all really important as well.
As we head into the under 4 media timeout, I want to ask you one more question on that. But JHX up by 3. How much do you think in today's era of college basketball, NIL and all that, plays into the effect of depth on a team?
Well, it's definitely a factor because you have a finite amount of funds, and I think a lot of times you need to have a 9th or 10th guy on your team that really understands he's the 9th or 10th guy, because the funds that you have allocated may only really go, the bulk of it, to your top 3 guys, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 will also get something. But once you get beyond that, you just need guys that really want to play a role, and that's usually how those rosters get broken down.
Yeah. It's a 3-point lead for JHX. That gives us a chance again to tell you there will be a 3rd game here this afternoon from Kansas City. That'll start at what is scheduled to be 6 o'clock Eastern time. And that'll be the Sheffield Sharks playing the guys out of St. Louis. Sheffield Sharks, a professional team over in England. They are bringing their team, they're bringing their organization over here to play in TBT for the first time.
Well, we just talked about continuity. I mean, how important is that? Bringing over what is definitely core pieces of the team. There's definitely other players on that team that come from other teams within that league, but as long as you can have a core group of guys that are used to playing with each other, that makes it all the more easier to hit the ground running when you take the court.
Looking around the rest of TBT today, the Louisville alumni team beating Boston versus Cancer 91-71. We Are D3 beating Lanes Hope by 4. All Good Dogs beating Shield 219 77-69. And right now, Sideline Cancer in a battle with the Mad Cats, 82-78. Target score there at 83, and Sideline Cancer can win it in a few seconds on a free throw. Back here in Kansas City, JHX up by 3, but off the hook, trying to cut into it. Shane Gatling at the line, and he misses the first. Gatling with 8 points so far in this one. And he missed them both.
I mean, you just wonder, with that last one being a little bit short there, can Gatling kind of keep his win throughout this game? Because he's going to be relied on heavily.
Stepping into the passing lane and a turnover. But then losing it the other way was Malik Cameron, and he tried to regain control as the ball went above his head. When he did, he touched it, went out of bounds. It'll be JHX basketball.
It's a really tough, brutal missed opportunity there for Off the Hook. You get a pretty clear run out. Cameron just can't quite hold on to it.
3.5 to go before the half. Zeke Mayo, he'll try a 3. It rolls around and out, but an offensive rebound to put back. And Cliff Alexander continues to be a problem. He has 4 points so far, but feels like even though he hasn't scored a ton in the first half so far, he still has made his presence felt a lot.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of what he's always done, is just really use that frame and length and be disruptive on the glass, be disruptive at the rim defensively, finish around the rim. And he broke my heart specifically. I was at Illinois and in 2014 when he was choosing between Illinois and Kansas, and I'll never forget that day in the practice facility. And he gave the hat, he picked up the Illinois hat, put it down, and I heard screaming in the office up top, and we thought we landed him. And then everybody ended up walking out with long faces. We were all on the practice court like, what happened? And then like, he committed to Kansas. And we're like, what? But really a highly, highly decorated high school recruit.
Yeah, he was a one and done at Kansas in the 2015 season. But I mean, he was a McDonald's All-American. He was Mr. Basketball USA in 2014. But just in the last year, Cliff Alexander has spent time in Bahrain, South Korea, and Venezuela.
Well traveled for sure. And I think there's a part of you for sure that just kind of wonders what it could have been if he stuck around at Kansas after that first year. Going undrafted is Preston. My God.
Billy Preston just makes it look so smooth to the rim. Oh, nifty underneath. Ezenekwe, reverse for 2.
Ezenekwe, what a finish. Jump from basically outside of the lane, finish on the other side.
Try a 3. And how many threes today in both of these games have been halfway down and come back out?
A lot of them.
A lot. With Alexander there on the board.
And I want to see for Billy Preston, he spent a little bit of his time on the perimeter, it felt like, to start the game. He gets that dunk a few possessions ago. I want to see him getting downhill.
Deep 3, LeGerald Vick.
And LeGerald Vick shot the cover off the ball in this event last year. 45% from 3 a summer ago. And to me, he's the X factor on this team. We just talked about Zeke Mayo, obviously, but with the departure of Frank Mason, what do we get from LeGerald Vick? And can he absorb some of that scoring load? That's going to be really important, I think, as this game goes on, in addition to these other guys in the backcourt.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Last year, 10 threes in TBT last year for LeGerald Vick. And he scored 12 points on Thursday night in that scrimmage against Purple Rain. Looked good there as off the hook within 6 and at the free throw line, Shane Gatling, who has had to shoulder a lot of the load so far. Gatling with a made free throw here could tie the team lead with 10 points. Jaheim Cornwall has 10.
And off the hook's just kind of hanging around here. JHX hasn't really laid the hammer down to try to stretch this lead out. And as we get closer to the second half, what a finish from Mayo.
Zeke Mayo looking for
and he's
a
been
whistle.
pleading for a call for about a quarter now. And that time just decides to play through the contact and finish strong.
Zeke Mayo is playing here this afternoon for JHX as a tough runner goes for off the hook. Zeke Mayo played 11 minutes for the Wizards Summer League team in Vegas on Wednesday. He took the first flight out of Vegas at 6 a.m. on Thursday to join JHX. And then he ultimately hit the game-winning free throw and scored 13 points in that Thursday night scrimmage against Purple Rain. So Zeke Mayo wanted to be here, made it happen, and is extremely excited to be playing in this event.
It's a sign of a true hooper right there. No time off. And we just saw it again with Billy Preston. He has such an advantage with his size right now. And it should be every single possession for him trying to get down on the block. And it doesn't have to be off the dribble and Barkleys and backdowns. They got to dial something up, a cross screen on the baseline, make him a roller and screen and roll, post him. He's got to get the ball down on the block. He has way too much of an advantage right now.
Yeah, Billy Preston averaged almost 14 a game in 3 games in this event last year, led JHX with 16 versus Purple Rain on Thursday in that scrimmage. Mentioned it a couple of times, and it just gives you a good idea of what these two teams were looking like coming into this event. Purple Rain squeaking by in that first game just a few minutes before this tipped off, and then now here at JHX Hoops, up by 5 with under a minute to go in the first half.
Yeah, Ezenekwe, to go along with Cornwall and Gatling, those 3 have really just carried the load here for off the hook in the first half.
Zeke Mayo with 5 points on the afternoon, trying to make it 8. One-handed pass up ahead, and a layup good. That's Nazir Williams.
Great finish from Williams. But again, I see that last possession, and I see Billy Preston just kind of floating on the perimeter again.
Feels to me when we've seen Billy Preston be aggressive offensively, it's almost like he can do whatever he wants.
Literally. I mean, he can literally do whatever he wants. And again, it doesn't have to be put the ball in his hands on the perimeter and have him take you off the dribble. He can certainly do that. But I would just love to see them feed him down low.
First free throw, good there for Jacob Hanna. Up by 4, looking to make it 5. And off the hook can wait for the final shot. The shot clock turned off.
Really crucial stop here for JHX if you can get it. And don't allow off the hook to have a 1 possession deficit heading into the half.
Nick Timberlake out on him. Ezenekwe's had a nice first half. Fadeaway shot, good. Trying to beat the buzzer a little late, and it's short anyway. At the end of the first half, it's JHX by 3 off the hook, hanging around and right in this game.
That trio, like I mentioned, of Gatling, Cornwall, and Ezenekwe have just really held down the fort for off the hook. And again, 3-point game, and we got a quarter coming up after this in the third quarter, and then we get closer and closer to Elam ending time. And it could get tight here for JHX.
Yeah, I say hanging around. Off the Hook's right in
They're
this
right
game.
here, yeah.
They are right in this game with the way that it just feels like JHX, if they want to put their foot on the gas, could pull away with the fact that Off the Hook only playing 5-6 guys here, only 6 available players on this team, but they have.
We talked about how that could aid them.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no wondering roles and when am I going to play. No, it's 6 people. We're rolling with what we got. And certainly for Gatling, Cornwall, and Ezenekwe, they know they're probably going to go the distance.
Yeah. You look for JHX, all but one player that played, kind of their 11 players that saw the floor in the first half scored, but nobody had more than 8. Billy Preston, 4 for 5 from the floor. He had 4 assists, a couple boards. He finished with 8 points. But on the other side, Gatling, Cornwall, and Ezenekwe, each with 10. Nazir Williams with 6, DJ Rivera with a couple. Malik Cameron didn't score. That's your box score for the first half. Look at the turnovers. JHX with 10 turnovers in that first half to Off the Hook's 6. But the rebounding was the difference. JHX punishing Off the Hook on the glass, 22-13. And 17-9 on the defensive glass.
And the turnovers really ramped up for JHX there later in that second quarter. But I still look at 12 for 17 from 2. That's where they're going to blow this thing open, and that's where they're going to extend their lead if they can continue to work the ball into the paint or drive the ball into the paint and not rely on their outside shot.
That's Mike LaTulip. I'm Paul Fritchner, and we are going to step away briefly. It is halftime here, a 12-minute halftime. A few minutes have already gone by, so we'll get you back here for the second half. Stick with us. JHX, the Kansas Alumni, lead this one 41-38.
so they had that. Like, we wanted to move it closer so we get a better spot. But it was. This is where it was. It's actually a good spot for us. They said, well, it looks a little dark. Yeah, but you got the light. So they came forward with it. If I told them in the corner, you have to see it. But especially this team right now, it's the very bottom of that rack. There's no chance. Otherwise, they're happy. Good. That's good. Good news. Ball for big wrap? Yeah. Appreciate it.
Almost time for the second half from Kansas City. Paul Fritchner alongside Mike Latulip as we get going from Municipal Auditorium, 41-38. JHX Hoops, the Kansas alumni team, leading off the hook. And this was a tale of two quarters again, just like what we saw in the first game today. Here in this one, it was 25-15 JHX at the end of the first quarter. And then the offense exploding for Off the Hook, 23 points in that second quarter to cut it down to that 3-point deficit.
Yeah, look, I know JHX headlines this regional, but you have to be impressed with Off the Hook's toughness and fight to really overcome the size advantage that JHX has. Off the Hook played really, really hard, and yet only had 6 fouls in the entire first half, which is huge when you look at how thin their bench is. And I know Gatling has 2, and Ezenekwe has 2, so 2 crucial guys with 2 fouls, but you get 6 in this tournament. So a really impressive fight from them in the second half. And then if you look at JHX, how do you respond? I mean, you've been making a killing inside the paint and around the rim. Is there a concerted effort to go down there to kick off this third quarter?
Yeah, Billy Preston has been a highlight for this JHX team. He leads JHX with 8 points, but I don't even know if those 8 points really tell the story of that first half for Preston, because it feels like he could have every bit of 20 if he really wanted to.
And that's kind of the tricky part with guys like Preston that are so talented and skilled at that size. You know, it's almost like I don't want to be like the get off my lawn guy that's, hey, get down in the post. But, and really, he's so talented. It doesn't even have to be just posting up like that. But when he attacks off the dribble and gets 2 feet in the paint, so many good things happen for this JXX group.
Paul Fritzner alongside Mike Latulip. I think you played at Illinois, Wright State. You've coached. You've been a GM in this event. You've been around for a while. You've broadcasted in this event for the last several seasons. And I'll ask you what this event is like to coach in, to put a roster together. And, you know, you were a coach and a GM for the Illinois alumni team, House of Pain, and you guys had some success in this tournament, and you know how much work it is to just get things off the ground and get guys back and put it together. What's it like? Tell the people watching at home what that process is like.
What's it like? It's stressful. That's for sure. There's just so much work that goes in behind the scenes to even just field a team, get a team on the floor, let alone try to win the games. And you have practices, you have a lot of Zoom calls leading up to doing training camp, and you're putting together an offensive system, a defensive system. You're trying to find pieces that match, not just, you know, pieces just to get pieces, right? You want to have some sort of plan with how you structure it all, and then you get up to this first game, and I remember the hours going up to that tip-off of that first game, and you're just like, I think we're good. I think we have a good team, but you really don't know until the group is all put together on the floor and you see how they react to each other on the floor. So that's the stress that a lot of these GMs and coaches are going through, because it's over like that. You know, if you lose that first game single elimination, it goes from all this excitement leading up to it, and everybody flies in, you get the training camp, vibes are high, and then in the blink of an eye, you're sitting in the locker room like, what just happened? And then you're booking flights home, and then you're you know, going through planning for the next summer and putting this all together. So it's not easy, and I always commend the teams that, like Purple Rain wins the game last game. They were bounced in the first round last year, and sometimes it's hard to regain that momentum and get the buy-in from the guys again to return for another year. So when you have teams like Eberline Drive, who's been in this tournament since the inception, like JHX Hoops, who's been going on year 4 or 5 in this tournament, that's always the sign of a really tight-knit group that wants to come back and play together.
And this is a talented region. You look at Purple Rain, a Kansas State alumni that just won their game. JHX, of course, a Kansas alumni playing here. Heartfire, who has won
really talented
TBT before. They are a previous winner. They're the top seed in this region. They're moving on already. So there is a lot to look forward to as these days go along in this Kansas City region.
No question. And I love the play drawn up by Sharon Collins out of the half. He knows OffDaHook wants to zone, so we're going to go and set a cross screen on the guy on the elbow and curl Cliff Alexander to the basket. Alexander's been such a load down there. I love them trying to free him up for an easy one.
Underway in the second half. 4 9-minute quarters. Here's Zeke Mayo for 3. Off the mark, but cleaned up by Jamari Taylor.
And I understand OffDaHook's trying to go zone to combat the lack of size, but your lack of size really does hurt you, and zoning hurts you on the rebounding side of things on the offensive glass, and that's an area where I think JHX can continue to dominate. Pass.
As the Nikwe air ball, too strong. Then a quick turnover by Preston. Not a very strong closeout either. And Williams on the offensive glass. Another offensive rebound. Third try. And that time it makes them pay. You give somebody 3 tries, 3 good looks at it. Eventually one's probably going to go in.
Well, you give somebody 3 tries, and then 2 of JHX guys hadn't even made it back over half court on the 3rd try. So that's why you get another high-quality look on the 3rd one, because they hadn't ran all the way back. And that's just something, transition defense, I know things have been a little helter-skelter here in the first minute and a half or so. Really proud. I mean,
what more can you say?
It feels like it's man amongst boys out there. He truly needs to get his head down, get 2 feet into the paint, because he could finish this game with 25 points if he wanted to.
Billy Preston, in my mind, has been the best player on the floor today when he has really been playing at his peak level, especially offensively.
He has the biggest advantage for sure. With his size and his ability to handle the ball, he's a real mismatch for OffDaHook.
Cliff Alexander underneath. A strong move, and now JHX has some separation up 6.
I love that from Alexander. No need to rush. Shot fake, let the guys fly by you, and finish soft off the glass.
On the other end, Alexander called for the foul. One more game today after this one. It'll be the Sheffield Sharks playing against the guys St. Louis.
I think that's going to be a really good game.
I do too.
I really do. There's a lot of really fun players on the floor for that game.
There's storylines all over in this regional, as there always are in TBT. It's such a fun event every year to reconnect with players that maybe you haven't seen or thought of in a while. And, hey, where's this guy playing? What's he up to? Where's he been the last few years? Oh, he's played in 3 different countries, and now he's finally found his footing, and he's whatever it might be. And to bring the Sheffield Sharks over, who are a professional team themselves over in the UK. They play in the UK's top league. And they are bringing their organization over to play in TBT for the first time. JHX Hoops up by 4 and going to the line. Cliff Alexander continues to be a problem underneath the basket.
I thought it was a rough start to the game for Cliff. He got blown by a couple times defensively, but he's really settled in and just making his presence felt down low. He's just an absolute load down there.
Alexander 1 for 2 from the free throw line today, make it 2 for 3 now.
And I do wonder too if in the next 3 or 4 minutes of game time, with all of the Preston getting downhill in the paint and Alexander dominating the paint, does that open things up and eventually the floodgates open for outside shots for LeGerald Vick, for Zeke Mayo? Do they start getting going from 3 on the outside?
This has been hovering around a 5 to 6 point game for most of the way after the first quarter, where JHX has strung together some buckets, but then can't string together some stops. Gatling looking underneath, and an easy 2.
Great hesitation from Gatling to shed Mayo, and then Ezenekwe with the Jose Alvarado coming out of the corner.
And a 3, almost a 5-point swing there. DJ Rivera couldn't get that 3 to go. Preston. Look, and he has it stolen. Up the court and laying it in. Nazir Williams, he was second team All Ivy League last season at Cornell. Averaged almost 15 a game. He shot 51% from the floor, 40% from 3. Talented player in Williams, but there's a talented player for JHX. It's Zeke Mayo.
And I like that from JHX too. Off the made basket. Let's push it up the floor. Let's get it in Zeke Mayo's hands. And you got numbers, and he finishes through contact with the and 1. And Zeke Mayo, obviously, talk about just a really phenomenal season he had at Kansas, but you go back and look at some of his stuff at South Dakota State, and my goodness, he's just talk about putting together a pretty unbelievable college career.
Yeah.
The efficiency, winning at a high level, going to the NCAA tournament with South Dakota State. I mean, he is just really put together a great career.
He was a career 40% three-point shooter in college.
And you think about the attention that he got from opposing defenses. I mean, he's doing it off the dribble. Not easy.
Defensive pressure trapped in the corner, but
goodness gracious.
Ezenekwe escapes and scores.
What a shot from Ezenek.
Here he goes again. Hesitates, kick out. Looking, floater, front rim. Alan Gerald Vick had a 3 earlier. Zeke Mayo. And JHX opens up a 9-point, make it 6-point lead.
I wondered if eventually Zeke Mayo and LeGerald Vick were going to start knocking down outside shots. It really felt like a matter of time. But give a lot of credit to OffDaHook. I mean, this is, you got 6 players, really 3 of which are, I mean, Nazir Williams is I'd say climb into that category too, but leaning heavily on 3 guys who just really, quite frankly, just seem like they don't get tired.
Yeah. A little leaner. And tough shot there for OffDaHook. And Shane Gatling. Mayo. Taking his time with 13 on the shot clock. Well, ISO here for Mayo. Loses it briefly. It's kicked around, but it'll stay with JHX. 5 on the shot clock. But it'll reset.
Probably just a little too much, playing with your food for Mayo. I mean, at that point, like once it starts, you get to like the 8 to 10 dribble mark, you either got to go or get off of it. I thought Rivera did a really good job there sitting down. That's like a 16-year age difference there between Rivera and Mayo.
That one knocked out of bounds underneath. It'll stay with JHX. 15 on the timer. Plenty of time for JHX as they feed underneath. Marcus Bell kind of lost his spacing and then a foul in transition. That's one of those shots where when you're Bell, you turn around, you're not 100% sure where the basket is and put too much on it.
Well, it's hard too because you took the defense by surprise by being able to deliver a pass right there, and then there's a quick reaction from them, so you feel like you got to put up a quick one instead of taking your time with it. And Bell, again, has the size advantage down there. Probably just could have been a little bit more patient and finished it.
Stepping through, that's a jump ball, and possession will stay down on this end. 4:17 to go in the third. Then the Elam ending at the under 4 media timeout in the fourth quarter. Shane Gatling working around, fade away, halfway down, rolls around, falls into the hands of Nick Timberlake. And a travel from Kelvin Amayo. That possession was a bit out of control. It resulted in a turnover, and JHX now just up 6 with 3:58 to go in the third. And OffDaHook just hanging around.
They are, and this is a really, really critical 3:58 to finish out this third quarter. Does fatigue set in for OffDaHook with how thin their roster is right now? This is a really much-needed timeout for them.
Again, the Elam ending in the fourth quarter at the first dead ball. Under 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. That'll blow the whistle for the media timeout. We'll also set the target score, which means 8 points will be added to the leading team's total, or that'll end up being the score to get to. So whoever would get to that score first would win the game. We had an electric one in the Purple Rain game earlier. See what we have in store here for this one.
I mentioned the fatigue component for OffDaHook. I think there's something to be said about not really having a choice. You don't have a bench to rely on to say, hey, you know what, can you give me a breather or give me one right before the media timeout? They have no choice but to push through. I think there's just a certain place you can go to mentally to kind of continue on, and their toughness and their grit is going to be really tested here in the last, whatever you want to call it, 15-ish minutes of this game.
Yeah, for Off the Hook, Arnando Camacho, Jordan Washington, John Egbuda, and Jalen Neesmith all not playing in this game tonight. Just 6 players available. $12 players on the JHX roster. We've seen 11 of them in this game. Darnell Jackson is the only player that has not played who's on the roster. Jackson was part of that self-made team in 2019. He finished his Kansas career in 2008, so one of the older players on this roster. Jaheim Cornwall with 10 points tonight.
I love how, and what a shot there in the corner from Williams. I love how they have Young up top, guarding as if he's at the top of the press, and then when they cross half court, he runs down and is the bottom of the zone. It's very, very, very unique, but what a finish there from Hannah.
Here's Nazir Williams, and he got it again. Nazir Williams missed team All-Ivy last season, played in the Ivy League tournament 4 times, trip to the 2024 postseason NIT. But this is a decorated Ivy League player in Nazir Williams, and somebody just finished his college career. Ball batted away by Ezenekwe, out of bounds. It'll stay with JHX, but it's a 1-possession game.
If you're JHX, you're probably pretty upset they have 6 guys because you're wishing that one of these guys would sub out. Stop making these tough shots.
Watching a baseball game, you got to get the starter out there. You got to go to the bullpen. But the problem is, there's nobody in the bullpen. Offensive putback by Marcus Bell.
Really good job from Bell, just kind of using his leverage underneath the basket to root his man out, get that O board, and finish it.
And a foul. Shane Gatling had possession of the ball, and that foul going against Jacob Hanna, D2 standout.
We talked about Defensive Player of the Year. Look who he's guarding right now. Shane Gatling, one of the, if not the top scorer on that team. They obviously have a lot of trust in Hanna.
Nick Timberlake, kick out. Cornwall for 3. Back iron. Timberlake skies in for the board. Crossover, dumps it off, and the finish. Marcus Bell.
And Young, I thought he was going to run into trouble there, but able to cross up, free himself up, and Bell does the rest.
Nifty play by JHX. Shane Gatling. Offensive rebound, Gatling. Oh! Dishing underneath! But he couldn't finish it off.
Gatling throws his hands up. He knows he missed out on a highlight.
Pulling on the other end. And a whistle will put Marcus Bell at the free throw line. Oh my goodness, going back to that last pass. Gatling taken behind his back, wrapping it around on the baseline underneath, and then that was it.
And then on the following possession here, Bell goes to the line, but I thought Off the Hook did a really good job of just flying around and preventing what would have been an easy basket. I mean, they had 3 guys cycle through to Bell with effort, ended up in a foul, but if he splits a pair, goes 0 for 2 here, and you feel like he came out with a net positive.
You called it. There's the miss in the first free throw. Free throw number 2. Finds the bottom of the net, and it is an 8-point JHX lead. with under 2 to play in the third quarter.
Yeah, that's why, you know, that pass from Gatling underneath to Rivera, just that ball goes in. It's maybe settles you down a little bit. This is a different story. 4-point game, 5-point game. Instead, we get a turnover.
And things may be unraveling here. You can see JHX trying to speed things up.
And why they got Amayo in the game and Hannah in the game is for that reason. They've really made an impact here defensively.
Underneath, trying to find Preston, and a foul called.
I like that a lot. I talked about it in the first half. Why not make Preston a roller? Why not make him be the guy setting the screen up top and roll into the basket? He's a big target. He's nimble. He can catch on the run. Wouldn't mind seeing more of that.
An 8-point lead for JHX. Billy Preston at the line has 10 points. He had 8 in the first half, so only 2 points here. Now 3 in the third quarter. Five for 7 from the field. Has 4 assists, 3 boards. And a tip up and in. That's a 3-point trip. Kevin Young heads up. Returner on this team, a lot of TBT experience. And it's now an 11-point JHX lead.
They've really ramped up the pressure in the full court.
OffDaHook's got to be careful as we get down to the final minute of the third quarter.
And that's going to be free throws for Gatling. And that last possession, the free throw blockout, that'll drive a coach crazy because it's a box out right there for you. And you usually have 2 guys to 1. And Young, I talked about it earlier in the game. There's no randomness with Young. The ball doesn't just drop in his hands. He's there for a reason. He always puts himself in position.
Second free throw good. 70 seconds and counting in this third quarter. Kelvin Amayo. Bring that trap out on the outside. Timberlake. He has his pass deflected. Ends up in the hands of Gatling. Up ahead it goes as Inigwe wanted the and one, but now a foul. No, a travel on Timberlake.
First of all, what a finish by Ezinekwe. I thought he was going to have to try to dunk it. But at that angle, throwing it down like that off the backboard, that's a really soft touch for him to lay that in. And then how about Rivera cutting off Timberlake to where he gives the little pitter-patter before putting the ball down. And what a chance for OffDaHook here to maybe cut this thing to 5, make it a 2-possession game heading into the fourth.
Nazir Williams, there it is, the layup. Now the ball's in JHX court. With 30 seconds to go, Zeke Mayo, Preston. A little casual on the outside. Driving, trying to be physical.
I mean, it's got to be every time.
Yeah.
It's got to be every time for Billy Preston.
I agree. Because he can make that happen every time.
And defenders bounce off of him. So even if you get a second guy to commit, you know, there's if he can create a collision, he's going to the foul line. And he creates a collision, it feels like every time he drives.
Six-point lead now. 21.7 to go. OffDaHook can wait for the final shot. Gatling. Gatling down the lane, trying to go up and under, and he does!
Goodness gracious.
At the buzzer, Mayo, too strong, and Shane Gatling with an artistic layup there at the very end makes it a 5-point off-the-hook deficit. JHX and OffDaHook set up for a fantastic finish here from Kansas City. We will take a quick break, and we will be back in just a moment for the final quarter from Municipal. .5 minutes until the Elam ending in Kansas City of what has turned into a very entertaining game between JHX Hoops and OffDaHook. I'm Paul Fritchner alongside Mike Latulip. Game 2 of 3 in the Kansas City Regional today. The winner of this will face Purple Rain, the Kansas State alumni team who won their game earlier today, a thriller. Elam ending a game they were down by 15 late. They rallied, came all the way back to win. And now OffDaHook trying to play spoiler. But JHX up by 5. And when they have looked the part, they have really looked the part today.
They have, and it starts with their defense. I mean, you just see the JHX turnovers ramping up again. And every time it feels like OffDaHook makes a run, it's tied into JHX turning the ball over. So JHX is, can be in control of this game if they value the possessions a little bit more. But we're 5 minutes away here from potentially having a really, really pressure-filled Elam ending for JHX.
Underway in the fourth quarter. JHX with the basketball in those white jerseys. OffDaHook in the black. And again, if you're just joining us, OffDaHook with just 6 available players for this game tonight.
And they've taken 55 shots. 4 of their guys have taken 50 of them. Like this, between Cornwall, Williams, Ezenekwe, and Gatling.
All tipped into the backcourt.
There's almost another turnover for JHX.
Only 5 on the timer. Mayo has to realize that. Mayo to the rim. Can't get it. Shot clock violation.
Oh, there's another one. JHX up to 18 turnovers now. And give a lot of credit to OffDaHook. I mean, they've been everywhere defensively, despite being undersized. They've been really tough and very, very active.
Trying to make it a one-possession game. Gatling for 3, and they do. Now down by just 2.
Gatling.
Oh, my goodness.
How do you want it? I mean, off the bounce, we saw the really pretty up and under. And then that one just sizing up with a hezzy pull.
Gatling up to 20. He's banged up behind the play.
Back in the play.
Can't get back to defend Preston, who misses a wide-open 3, but Cliff Alexander cleans up the offensive glass. Wing 3, no. There's Preston on the board. The Cliff underneath. Finds the bottom of the rim, gets it back. No, gets his own miss back again, and he's fouled.
Gatling's doing all he can to try to hold the fort down underneath the basket on Cliff Alexander. Alexander does a great job sealing him off. It was a great delivery from Billy Preston. hitting them only where Alexander could get it. But just, Cornwall rotating over, making a play on the ball. We talked about it with Bell a couple minutes ago, but that should have been 2 points for JHX, and instead they're having to earn it at the stripe.
Here's Alexander, makes the first. Today, Cliff Alexander, he's only missed one free throw. He's up now. He's a double-figure scorer on the night. He's at 12 points. He's 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Make it 5 for 6. Driving to the bucket, Gatling, tough foul. They call to say that was out of bounds. No foul. They call a foul there. It'll just be a baseline out of bounds.
It was a great move from Gatling. Billy Preston was anticipating the screen and turned his head to where he thought Gatling was coming off. Gatling rejects the screen and gets downhill. Thought there might have been a little bit of contact there. And if there wasn't, Gatling really sold it well.
Now go get the mop. James Cornwall on mop duty there.
He's doing it all today.
Cornwall.
Get a mop, get you a towel.
Yeah. What do you need? Again, you can see that off the hook bench up there, just one player on the bench. Malik Cameron.
It's a lot of empty seats.
There are a lot of empty seats.
But give them a lot of credit. They've showed a ton of heart today.
Underneath, trying to create space, and there's Nazir Williams, second leading scorer on this team. He's up to 19. He's 9 for 12 from the floor.
And I know he has the foul there, but I love on that previous possession, Williams is playing off of 2 feet. We see all the really great players do it. Jalen Brunson is a maestro playing off of 2 feet. Jimmy Butler, really good at playing off of 2 feet. When you land on 2, you give yourself options. I can fade away. I can pivot with my right. I can pivot with my left. And he gets Mayo on the up and under there.
Here's Preston. Kind of quiet in this fourth.
They're really packing the floor in on Preston.
Yep. Off the hook has recognized what Preston can do. And
the fouls are mounting quickly for Off the Hook, too. And I thought that was a great read from Preston. You got guy collapsing on you to the left, guy collapsing on you to the right, and the luxury you have at 6'10" is that you can see right over the defense. So when Traylor cuts to the ball, that's a pretty easy pitch and catch there for Preston.
And Jamari Traylor, he drew the foul, came up slowly on that ankle or his calf maybe, twisted ankle there, but he stays in the game.
And Off the Hook has 16 fouls this game. They're doing about as good of a job as you can distributing their fouls. Not a single guy with more than 3 fouls.
And then Traylor, who just went down, looked hurt, doesn't look hurt there. It's up to a 6-point JHX lead.
Something about having the ball in your hands. That's why the guy told me a long time ago, that's why they call it the pill.
Here's Gatling. Crossover, step back. With Alexander there for the board. Mayo, no look pass, stolen. And then a foul by Traylor, puts his hand up and gonna head to the bench.
It's honestly, it's not the worst foul from Traylor. We've seen how electric Off the Hook has been in transition throughout really this entire game. So you got 0 fouls, pick up your first foul. You're still a ways away from the bonus. And then set your half-court defense.
Off the Hook with less than 2 minutes to go until the Elam ending. Poked away. Out in transition. Look out! JHX pulling away here creating a turnover, and Municipal Auditorium is on its feet.
And that's 2 straight plays from LeGerald Vick. He gets his hand on the ball in the previous possession that leads to the Preston lob. And then again,
for 3! Oh my goodness!
Welcome to the LeGerald Vick show.
LeGerald Vick, a steal and a Curry range 3 puts JHX up 11. Oh my! LeGerald Vick with 6 points tonight on 2 threes.
And it's fitting we got Temperature by Sean Paul playing there in the arena. Because LeGerald Vick is hot right now.
Oh my goodness. Five and a half is what's showing on the clock, but again, just 90 seconds until the Elam ending, when you can put 8 points on top of the leading team's score, and then you play to that score, and the first team to get to that score wins. That'll be at the first dead ball after the 4-minute mark here in this fourth quarter.
And that's a winning stretch. Truly a winning stretch that LeGerald Vick just put on there. The 2 defensive plays, you know, he's barking, he's clapping, and then when he got the ball, again, all he saw was red. He was coming down and pulling up. And you just think about, we're a minute 29 away from the Elam ending. It's a 5-point game, or it's a 6-point game, 73-67, and you get the steal and the lob, and then the 3 to go up 11 instead of what could have been, you know, you have a turnover. This could be a 3-point game, but instead he pushes this lead open and gives you a little bit of cushion heading into the Elam ending.
Probably as loud as this building has been here in this one, and another turnover by OffDaHook, but then they get it right back, get to the rim, score, and get the foul. Ezenekwe.
Ezenekwe is incredible. Honestly, he the finishing with both hands, his ability right there to get the ball, get it up on the rim that quick with that amount of touch. Man, what a finish.
He's up to 18 points on the night. And with everything that's happened so far in this one, just have to wonder what is left in store in the final minute. You have the Elam ending.
And how much more does OffDaHook have in this game?
Yeah. You can see them overextending passing lanes here, trying to go for some steals. Preston, open 3. Did everything but go in, and then the putback and the foul. JHX making their move. Marcus Bell and 1.
When you get spread out defensively like we saw OffDaHook on that possession, you also spread out defensive rebound. And that's exactly where Marcus Bell positioned himself under the basket to corral that and finish what was not an easy shot, pretty much reverse layup off the glass.
A 12-point lead for JHX. Under a minute to the Elam ending. Deep 3. Gatling off the mark. Zeke Mayo, JHX content to take a little time here. Mayo whipped it underneath. Stolen away. Off the hands of Bell. But then Preston with the steal. One-handed bounce pass up ahead, and throwing it down is Marcus Bell. The largest lead for JHX.
Very rare to see a full-court bounce pass bounce twice without anyone getting a hand on it. But Preston threads the needle to Bell.
Yeah, I thought it was nice that Bell let that bounce time. Right. And then nobody was there to catch up to it.
You just see how active OffDaHook's been all day. If you're off the hook, can you get a 3 here to cut it to 11? Can you get a bucket to cut it to 12? Can you make it at least a little bit more manageable when we hit the Elam ending? We'll find out here in the next 17 seconds.
(83-69), JHX with a 14-point lead. Yeah, this is a really important possession here. Off the hook. Can score, but instead it goes the other way. And a dunk rattles in and out for Kelvin Amayo. The other way as Inekwe hits a 3 and a 5-point swing.
You got to think with 3 timeouts, JHX is going to take one of those and set the score.
Yeah, right there. There it is. So the target score will be 91. Off the hook will need 19 points to the target score. JHX just to 8.
Well, crazier things have happened in this tournament. I remember back in, I think it was 2021, the Bradley alumni team had a 15-point deficit heading into the Elam ending and was able to pull it off. So that's the beauty of this format. You are never out of the fight.
In this game at Old Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City, there is one more game coming up after this. You can stick with us on the TBT YouTube channel. It'll be the guys, St. Louis against the Sheffield Sharks. They compete in the British League, the top tier in Britain. And they have brought their organization over to TBT for the first time. But here we have JHX, the Kansas alumni, taking on Off the Hook, money tournament team. And you have a opportunity here if you're Off the Hook to play a major spoiling role in this tournament. But with their play in the last few minutes, JHX has set themselves up well for this Elam ending.
They have, and I think when you look at just the collection of really strong performances that have been put forth by their bigs. We talked about the size advantage that they had coming into this game, but their top 3 scorers right now are Billy Preston, Marcus Bell, and Cliff Alexander with 15, 15, and 13 respectively.
Elias Inekwe with 21 to lead Off the Hook. He leads all scorers. Shane Gatling has 20. Nazir Williams has 19. A fun one in Kansas City, and we're not done yet. Target score, as you see right there, set at 91. JHX 83, Off the Hook 72. JHX in those white jerseys.
Well, obviously JHX is in control of this game right now. But the only way I see Off the Hook getting back into this is if JHX gets loose with the ball again and gives them runouts and turns the ball over again. They're 25 for 37 from 2 in this game. I mean, they are just absolutely dominating inside, and that has to continue here in the Elam ending.
Here's Billy Preston. And you look underneath, that's a foul as Cliff Alexander went for it. Alexander a little slow to get up. Alexander with 9 rebounds in this game. 1 rebound short of a double-double. You just see the size right there of Alexander as he walks to the free throw line and some of these off-the-hook players walk by him. He has had such a massive advantage with his size underneath today.
He could roll out of bed and get 10 and 10 in this tournament. I mean, just his length. I mean, he's like he's 6'8", 6'9", but a 7'4" wingspan. And then we just know in the Elam ending, if you're sitting in the bonus like that, you got to be uber aggressive. Get that free throw and get the ball back. Extend these possessions.
Now, as Preston was looking underneath, having to put 2 on Preston. He's been such a problem today at different points in this game.
And I liked it as the game has gone on. You've seen them put Preston in different spots. You've seen them make him a roller and get him into the paint. That time you have him seal, and then kind of spin around over the top for a lob. I like Sharon Collins is on all the right strings right now, trying to get Preston the ball there down low. And if OffDaHook keeps fouling, they might not have a possession in this Elam ending.
Preston, 10 on the timer, fakes the 3. Mayo, 6 on the shot clock, lost the ball. Mayo, here's Preston, he's gonna have to shoot it, and he got it! That's just 1 3 away from moving on to Monday night. And stepping on the baseline was Nazir Kim.
Talented is Billy Preston. We've seen the passing. We've seen him grab defensive rebounds and bust out in transition. You see the three-point shooting there. Just a really, really well-rounded player at 6'10". 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and doing it efficiently at 7-11 from the field.
A 3 wins it for JHX. Mayo for the win. Off the mark. Cliff Alexander going for the rebound. Out of bounds. JHX arguing for it. It did look like maybe OffDaHook had touched it last, but OffDaHook kind of got caught up there. Got linked for 3. Yes.
And we'll see if OffDaHook mounts a comeback. But I really got to say, these 4 guys for OffDaHook, Gatling, Ezenekwe, Williams, and Cornwall have just, what an effort they put forth today.
Preston turns it over. Throws it right into the hands of OffDaHook. Dish underneath. Blocked away. Now it's Ezenekwe. Kick out. King 3. That's by Gatling, and it's not over yet. Tipped away, underneath, goes into the corner. Gatling for 3. No. Offensive rebound, put back. No again, and a foul.
And I said it at the top of the Elam ending. This game is in JHX's hands if they can take care of the ball. Period. I mean, that's the only way you let OffDaHook climb back into this or win this game is if you lose the ball and give them free runouts. And especially turning over the backcourt like that at 90 feet.
Precious free throw missed. At this point in the game, it is tough to leave points on the floor.
And I know it's electric when a 3 goes through the net for the the game-winning shot, but can you kind of fight that temptation if you're JHX with how much of an advantage you've had on the inside?
OffDaHook misses both. And now an opportunity for the win or to get a basket closer. Mayo to Young. They threw it out of bounds.
It's really, if there's one thing you look at it, and if JHX wins this game today, heading into the next round, they're going to have to really tighten up things from a ball handling standpoint.
Layup missed. And again, Mayo up the floor to Alexander. And a foul.
Well, now you can take the 3 out of the equation. If Alexander knocks this down, you're only 2 points away from the target score.
And there's one for Alexander. And now Bucket wins it. Gerald Vick off the inbound Alexander. Looking for the win. Cliff Alexander wins it for JHX. Moving on, a Sunflower Showdown on Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Cliff Cliff Alexander finishes with 17 points on the night. The team's second leading scorer behind the 19 from Billy Preston. And JHX will play Purple Rain on Monday.
And JHX dominated the paint all night, and Cliff Alexander was a major reason why. He's a big target, he finishes strong, and he had one thing on his mind when he caught that ball and ripped to the basket.
Alexander will take the nameplate over to the bracket, place it on, and he'll advance JHX hoops. It's on Monday night against the Kansas State Alumni. What a fun one that'll be from Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City. Billy Preston leads the way, 7 of 11 shooting, 4 for 5 from the free throw line. He finished with 19 points. And I don't want to overlook what Off the Hook did in this game. Shane Gatling with 26 points in this game, 8 for 19 from the field. Ezenekwe with 21. Nazir Williams, 19. A really solid game from Off the Hook, but in the end, JHX just too much.
And Off the Hook gave JHX all they could handle. I mean, the turnovers, I think whatever it ended up being, 24 turnovers for JHX. That's all credited to Off the Hook's activity and disruption defensively. And a lot of praise should go to Gatling and Ezenekwe and Williams and Cornwall. They were just tremendous, keeping them in this game and giving them at least a shot there in the Elam ending. But just too much strength, too much physicality from JHX.
JHX beat Purple Rain 78-72 in the Wheat State Summer Showdown on Thursday night in the scrimmage exhibition to get started with this TBT week. And now they'll meet for real on Monday night at Municipal Auditorium. We'll have it for you here on the TBT YouTube channel. So for Mike LaTulip sitting to my right, I'm Paul Fritchner signing off. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday afternoon with us here on the TBT's YouTube channel. We'll be back for Game 3 and the final game of the day from Kansas City. Talk to you in just a few minutes. Thanks for watching, everybody.